So we're going to jump in without much ado. So Brendan Metcalfe, Executive Director, CEO of Friends of the Holy Land. Over to you to start us off this afternoon.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you for everybody joining us, on this meeting today. Just very quickly, for those of you who do not know much about Friends of the Holy Land, a brief introduction. Friends of the Holy Land is a charity that was formed roughly 14 years ago. We're a proudly ecumenical charity. We get the broad support from Christians across the UK and now beginning in Ireland. Our mission is, I like to say, we're a small charity with a large ambition, and that ambition is to help the Christian communities in the Holy Land, the founding communities of our faith, to survive and sustain themselves in the Holy Land. Now, what makes us different as compared to many other charities that you may have heard of that work in the region is, first of all, that's our sole focus. We're only doing work in the West Bank, Gaza, Israel, and Jordan. And we are registered locally in Palestine as a charity, as well as a charity here, which means that we maintain an office in Bethlehem. We have our own staff in Bethlehem. We have a volunteer committee of Christians across the denominations, and Father Faddy, who is joining us today, is the chair of that committee. And most importantly, we have our own bank account. So that means we can take immediate action, direct action, to help people, to help those in need. And that is guided very much by the work of our committee. And when I say to work immediately and directly, that has been something that we've been able to do directly into Gaza. So since the start of the war, we have been able to send roughly £100,000 into Gaza, and that's been distributed pretty much evenly between the Greek Orthodox Church and the Latin Church there, and the Al-Akhli Hospital. And the purpose of that was to help them stockpile supplies of food, medicine, water, and other essential needs so they could survive the crisis. Now, that ability still continues. The challenge is finding goods that they can purchase is becoming increasingly difficult. Yeah. So we're in communication directly. One of our office members' family lives in Gaza and is currently sheltering in the Greek Orthodox Church. We also have some family members that we know directly sheltering in the Latin Church. And I am in communication, well, now more intermittently than before, but directly on WhatsApp with the Archbishop in the Greek Orthodox Church, with Father Yusuf, who is covering in the Latin Church, and with the people who are working at the Al-Akhli Hospital. And we continue to do what we can. We have maintained all of our programs in the West Bank. We have stepped up our emergency programs because, as you can imagine, our work is basically a balance of emergency support for those in need and sustainable help to help people develop a future. Emergency needs are people coming to our office directly, which they do every month, and we help with immediate needs for medical procedures, medications, sometimes to pay food and water bills, but all together, anything that can be deemed as an emergency support. We also have paid over the last couple of months for people to keep their very basic medical insurance with the Palestinian Authority so that they can continue to receive support in that way. And then add to that, we have a family support program for about 115 families that are in the worst possible condition that receive a very small grant from us of 1,500 shekels, which is about £330 every quarter, so they can buy food, etc. In our two larger programs, we have School of Joy, which is a school for children with special needs, which operates in Beit Sahur. Now, although run on a Christian ethos, 90% of the children in School of Joy are Muslim, from the poorer Muslim community all the way down to Hebron. And then we have St. Martha's House, which is a daycare center for elderly women, most of whom are widows with their families having emigrated. So we are there to support the most vulnerable. We're also there to help particularly young people, but others who wish to retrain in a new vocation or a new career. So we have about 200 children at Christian schools across the West Bank whom we help with school fees. We have a scholarship program which is training youngsters in nursing at Bethlehem University, in becoming a chef and learning IT skills at the ETVTC College, which is the Episcopal College in Ramallah. And we have people learning at the Salesian Technical School, what I call the trades. So it's usually learning how to do solar power, learning how to be an electrician, learning how to be a carpenter, etc. 90% of the graduates from these courses end up in jobs. And that's what we're seeking to do and continue to do as we help people, shall we say, pivot away from a traditional reliance on tourism or going into Israel to get laboring jobs. And then the other program, we do some improvements. I don't mean we don't rebuild, but we do improvements to people's homes. We have a project at the moment. Many of you who's visited will know that water is in particularly short supply in the Bethlehem area. When I was last there, water was on average coming in about 2 days a month to houses in Bethlehem. And we are currently doing a program which is spending about £50,000 to install water tanks, solar panels, and the apparatus to get the water around the house plus heat it up to around 60 homes. So we've so far completed 36, and we have 14 homes that have been identified for to continue in the program. Now, that program is still ongoing, but it's been a little bit delayed because of the conditions, which I'm sure our two guests from the Holy Land will talk about in a moment. So without any further ado, that's Friends of the Holy Land. Please visit our webpage, which is just simply friendsoftheholyland.org.uk. You can see a lot about what we do. I would please ask you to sign up to get our news, which you can do on the webpage. We send out an email about once a month. And also, for those who are looking for inspiration for prayer services, we have a webpage all about prayer and blogs and excuse me, reflections managed by my good friend, the Reverend John Rees. And there's lots of resources on there for you to download and use in your services.